Thank you very much. Well, good evening, everyone, planning commissioner, city staff, our person that is going to be presenting with us tonight, and everyone out there in Cyberland. I guess we're doing this because we're trying to ensure safety for everyone and try to do everything we can as a city and a planning commission in order to try to make sure that we're safe. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Commission of the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. Can we have a roll call?
Yes, Commissioner Cobian,
Present.
Commissioner Brigueras,
Here.
Commissioner Sims,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Dijonay,
Here.
and Chairperson Korzek is absent.
Okay. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Cobian.
Please place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with just for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion and a second?
I motion.
A second. Okay, that is a motion by Commissioner Brigueras and Sims, a second.
Correct.
Okay, can we have a vote?
We're going to take a vote by roll call. So Commissioner Cobian,
Yes. Approved.
Commissioner Brigueras,
Yes.
Commissioner Sims,
Yes.
and Vice Chairperson Dijonay.
Yes. Well, the motion carries unanimously. That's 4-0. So next we have the public comments procedure. So here it was a little bit different because some of you guys have been with us for a while. We're on the Zoom platform. So I imagine that you have to chime in at some point in time in order to be acknowledged as a speaker. So during the public comment period for each item, as well as during the public comment period for each item not on the agenda, each member of the public who has signed up to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. If you do not wish to make a public comment, please be aware that you're attending this meeting through the Zoom platform and you will be displayed as a speaker. For those of you viewing the meeting without making comments can do so via online, via the city's website at www.moval.org. That's /MV3 Live. This link is available through the city's website and can also be viewed on YouTube Live and on channel MVTV3. The commission may establish an overall time limit for comments on a particular agenda item. Members of the public must direct their questions to the chairperson of the commission and not to other members of the commission, the applicant and staff, or other members of the audience. Do we have any speakers?
No, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. All right, the next item is the public comments on any item not on the agenda. I guess are there any speakers for any non-agenda items?
No.
Okay, well, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent calendar. At this time, we have no items on the consent calendar. So we move on to the next item of the agenda is the public hearing items. It looks like we don't have any items there either.
Just to clarify, Vice Chair, it's non-public hearing items.
Non-public. Oh yeah, I see that there. So we don't have any non-public hearing items, I take it? No items, I don't believe. All right, the next item on the agenda is the public hearing items. So we have item number 1. We have an applicant that is requesting approval for the following entitlements, conditional use permit for a planned unit development and a tentative tract map 38123 to subdivide a 33.57 acre site into 177 single family lots. Do we have a staff report?
The staff report this evening will be given by contract planner Kirk Corey.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, Vice Chair, members of the Planning Commission, and audience as well. As mentioned, the item before you this evening is a request for a tentative tract map to subdivide approximately 33 acres into 177 single-family residential lots, 6 lettered lots with associated amenities and public improvements. As you've also mentioned, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow for a planned unit development. I will refer to that as a PUD often through the presentation for the commission and the audience. The planned unit development is required by the standards of the downtown center zoning designation to address development standards for detached residential housing. The site is located at the northeast corner of LaSalle Street and Alessandro Boulevard. It is also bordered by Bay Avenue to the north and Darwin Drive to the east. There is existing single-family residences that exist to the northwest, the north, and the east side of the site. Sites to the south and southwest are vacant. As mentioned, the applicant is requesting a approval of a tentative tract map number 38123 to subdivide approximately 33 acres into 177 single-family residential lots, as well as the mentioned improvements. And the project will also include a water quality basin and a park, a 1.85 acre park. The site has access identified at 2 points off of LaSalle, 1 point off of Bay Avenue, and 2 points off of Darwin Drive as well. The residential lots for the tract range in size from 4,210 square feet up to the largest at 9,606 square feet. As I mentioned, the applicant is requesting a planned unit development referred to as a PUD. The downtown center zoning district allows for detached residential developments through the approval of a PUD. The PUD was prepared to establish the development standards and the design guidelines for the tract. The proposed PUD provides guidelines for various architectural styles that meet or exceed the citywide design standards in the municipal code. The development will propose 2 types of product, one referred to as Skylar Place and the other as Windsong. Skylar will be on lots that are average or meet around 4,500 square feet, and Windsong will be on lots that are approximately 5,000 square feet in size. Both projects or both developments propose 4 different footprints and elevations with 4 different elevation types for those areas. Skylar Place is proposed on the west side of the lots or the development, and Windsong is proposed more towards the east side as well. Each of the lots within development will have a front-facing garage with a front setback of 20 feet. They will also have a minimum 5-foot side yard setback and 10-foot rear yard setback within the development and proposal as well. All front yards will be landscaped per the city's landscape requirements and the planned unit development guidelines. All community landscaping will be designed per the PUD and maintained by the homeowners association. As I previously mentioned, the project is proposing a 1.85 acre park site to be located near the southeast corner of the project site, and will primarily serve the surrounding neighborhoods as well as this development. The park will be developed with a shade structure, picnic tables, will have large turf areas and a concrete pathway surrounding within the park for exercise for the residents and the community. The applicant will fully construct the community park to include all park amenities, and that park will then be dedicated to the city for maintenance as well. An initial study has been prepared by Helix Environmental in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. The initial study examined the potential impacts of the proposed project, and it was determined that a mitigated negative declaration was the appropriate document. There are impacts from the project or development, but those impacts will be mitigated, and those are outlined and identified in the initial study, the mitigated negative declaration, and further reported in the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. Notification was sent out on December 21st of last year, with the 20-day review period ending on January 12th of this year. Consistent with the municipal code, public notices were sent to all property owners within 600 feet of the project site, and the property was noticed, and the site was noticed, and there was published in the library as well. With that, staff concludes the presentation of the project. Staff is available for questions, and I know that the applicant is on the Zoom conferences or Zoom call as well.
Well, thank you, sir. That was very comprehensive. Thank you. Are there any questions, commissioner questions for the staff?
Question. So once the park is dedicated to the city of Moreno Valley, it is open to the public throughout the whole city and guests to able to use it at any given time?
That's correct. It's not a private park. It's a community park. Correct.
Great. So then the Parks and Recs will be maintaining it with staff and everything.
Correct.
Great. Thank you. Oh, they're gonna have a lot of lighting. They're gonna have lighting throughout the park.
They will have lighting. The park presentation that I showed, or park illustration that I showed you in the presentation, is conceptual, and the details of the park will be worked out in final design with our parks department. So they will include some lighting, but they will take into account the nearby residences and that when they design it.
Oh, I understand that. Another question. Are they gonna have restrooms by any chance?
I would have to defer to our parks department. I don't know if that will be a requirement for this size of a park or development.
Okay. Only because there's no other big park in that particular area, so it's going to be a great wonder to the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other commissioner questions? Mr. Sims looks like he had, Commissioner Cobian unmuted there.
Yeah, that area in the corner of Alessandro and LaSalle says NAP. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Sure. That's approximately 2 acres in size, and the NAP is for not a part. It's not a part of this development or this tract proposal. It's a commercial site that will be developed at a future date. There's no plans for that site at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sims.
Sorry about that. I dropped off there our power went off at our house for about 15 seconds. Sorry about that. Anyhow, I was able to find my way back to this. I just had a question, and I don't want to get into the horrible details of what planning staff does, but on this one being a PUD, plan unit development, and when I read the staff report, it's linking it to, it would almost, you would say, but for it being in the downtown center district, it being part of the downtown center district, there's necessity for planned unit development. Is that specific? Is that because this is a residential project in that district, that it's a necessity for the PUD guidelines to be established for the track as an additional kind of layer of planning?
Sure. I'll jump in and take that one, okay?
Sure.
So yes, the downtown center does lay out a couple of different manners in which to implement development. One of them is a PUD for residential development such as this, given the size of the property, the number of units proposed. This was the most appropriate type of application to take forward for this proposed development, given the two different lotting styles that the applicant was proposing, as well as the opportunity to ultimately work with the applicant to get the 1.85 acre public park and address some of the other site constraints, such as the easement on Lot E for the Eastern Municipal water line that crosses the site.
Okay, thanks. And I guess the other question is PUDs, are the interior streets within the project, are those, I mean, they look like normal streets, but are they what you would call like the 66 or the 60?
City standard.
Are they normal city standard, or are they relaxed a bit to have a smaller right of way, and that's as part of the PUD with a single family resident versus like a condo project?
Wei, would you mind answering that, please, sir?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So I'll ask it in pieces. So the first question is are the streets proposed with this planned unit development and tentative track, are they the same, you know, cross section that you would find in a like another R4, R5 development that was not a PUD?
Yes.
So there's the same curb, sidewalk, and parkway that there would be in a normal street. These aren't private, more like a private street.
This is a public residential street.
Are these going to have, is there going to be right of way maintained by the city behind the sidewalk? Or is there sidewalks along all the curbage in this project?
I need to defer to land development.
Good evening, Commissioner Sims. Yes, there are proposed sidewalks around all of the interior streets and all of the perimeter streets of the project.
Okay, and then is the parkway between the curb and what would be the legal street right away, or are these legal streets dedicated to the city, or are they private streets?
They are dedicated to the city.
Okay, and are the streets of the same width that they would otherwise be if this was not a PUD?
Yes, that's correct. They're designed to a public street standard.
Okay. I guess I'm still just kind of trying to, I'm sorry to ask 50 questions. I'm just trying to get my mind wrapped around, is there other places in the city where we have done a PUD? Maybe the Beezer track across from the Target area, or, you know, Stonegate, is that a PUD? I can't remember.
We've done, the most recent PUD we actually did was the Iris Park project over off of Paris and Iris. Small triangular shaped parcel down in the south end of town. And that project did have a special street standard, but those were private streets for that project site. That's the most recent PUD that the commission has seen.
And then going forward as the downtown that center starts to get into a development mode, is the city gonna require all the residential element that goes into that area to go PUD, or that'll be on a case-by-case basis?
It's going to be a case-by-case basis. There's a couple of different processes by which we can review an application. One would be a PUD. Another would be a specific plan, for example. So there's a couple of different tools that we will be able to utilize. There's actually an opportunity as well for residential developments if they say go on an apartment, where they could look at actually just doing a plot plan.
Okay.
So there's a number of different implementation tools that we have under our belt. And again, this project, the PUD fit the best because they were looking at two different sets of development standards for the lots that average 4,500 square feet and lots that average 5,000 square feet. That's why the PUD made the most sense for this project.
Okay, so I guess I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but my interpretation of why the PUD is to give a little bit more granularity into the design specification for the actual final product that goes in. That would be to provide, I guess, consistency on maybe a little bit smaller type lot usages, or to pack more things into the project property, or my
the PUD allows us to be flexible on some development standards. It allows us for some flexibility on the development standards, which is the purpose of the conditional use permit.
Okay, and then I guess the other we're not with this approval. I didn't notice that there was any kind of a variance, so this would be consistent with what is being proposed here. The density that's proposed is consistent with the zoning that's
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the project is consistent with the zoning of the downtown center. The downtown center in the general plan actually identifies that the periphery of the downtown center is actually intended for more single-family residential type uses, such as what's proposed to the commission this evening. While as we get closer to the central core of the development of the downtown center, we ultimately will anticipate a more dense urban type of development, which may consist of smaller lot single-family homes, condominiums, townhomes, apartment units, and those types of things. Always encouraging high amenities with them, and also tie-ins for pedestrian connectivity to commercial.
And then the last thing, kind of following off what Commissioner Cobian on the not apart 2 acres. That is, what did we say that was? Is that currently zoned commercial, or is that?
It's also zoned downtown center, which allows for residential or commercial type uses. So there's some flexibility as to how that 2 acres could ultimately be developed in the future. It is not required to be commercial. It's not required to be residential. There is some flexibility there as to how that would ultimately be developed. That's the whole purpose of the downtown center, and the code provisions that were developed for it was to allow for flexibility for us to look at how the development form fits best to the property that is in existence, whether it's a 33-acre lot, parcel as we're looking at here, or property as we're looking at here, or looking at some of the smaller 2-acre parcel that's smaller than this, or looking at some even smaller parcels that exist within this downtown center area. We've got that flexibility built into this so that we can really look at pushing for the best design.
Okay, and I guess the only other thing, it looked as if there's different right-of-ways on the west side along LaSalle between Alessandro, and I can't remember the names of the streets, but upshot of it, I think I answered the question for myself is because there's different ownerships on there's a different existing right-of-way dedication on the piece of property that would be at the, what would be the northwest corner. So that vacant lot to the west of this has different existing right-of-way width on the west side of the south center line versus the part that goes up between the end of the vacant lot to Bay. So I think that answers that.
So ultimately, this development proposal will implement the city circulation element. So whatever street requirements we've established for LaSalle, for Bay, for Alessandro, those will be ultimately, even Darwin, those will all be implemented by this project. And then as Clement mentioned previously, all of the interior streets will also meet our city public standards as well.
Okay. And I get, and there's no, there's some turn pockets are being added at appropriate spots as well, but there's no additional. I saw that there was a modification to this traffic signal at Alessandro and LaSalle, but there's no additional in and out, like another signal or anything at Bay and LaSalle or Darwin at LaSalle, because the stacking isn't right or the traffic warrants doesn't require that.
So I'm gonna again defer that to either Clement or Way to provide an answer to that.
Based on the TIA traffic studies, there are not going to be additional traffic signals.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? If I have one, on the southeast corner where the park is proposed, is that going to be segregated by the tubular steel fence? I mean, being that it's open to the public, is that wide open on Alessandro, or is that segregated by a fence?
There will be fencing along Alessandro and up Darwin as well. But the street access from the first location coming off of Darwin will provide them the most immediate access to that park.
The picture I'm looking at here has kind of a yellow line around it, and I'm guessing that's it's saying here that's a 6-inch tubular steel fence. So it looks like that fence butts up against Alessandro and also partially down Darwin.
Correct.
Okay,
and ultimately, Vice Chair, the way that the conditions have been prepared, it does give our Parks and Recreation Department the ability to work with the developer to ultimately establish a design that they feel will ultimately meet the community's needs the best. So what you are seeing before you is ultimately a conceptual design. We've got a great Parks and Recreation team, and they will be ultimately working with the developer on that final design, similar to what we saw with oh my goodness, the development's escaping me right now. We recently, with another development we recently completed. I apologize, but the name is escaping me right now.
Okay, the reason why I ask is because Alessandro is a boulevard, and the speeds, I believe, is about 45 miles an hour on Alessandro, and it's wide open. If that's a park area with children playing, that sort of thing, that's so. But it says it's fenced. So with that being said, that means that this public park, that means the general access. I guess I'm asking, the general access to the public. This public facilities, this public park will be within this site. You have to go in. It looks like, you either turn on Darwin and you make that very first left, or you have to go all the way through here to get to that cul-de-sac there in order to access the park. Is that correct?
Based on the conceptual design, that's correct. There will likely be pedestrian access as well. From the city sidewalks. I would be surprised if we would have this tubular steel fence solid along the entire frontage of Alessandro or along Darwin. There would likely be, opportunities to access the site at various locations along the 2 street frontages as well for pedestrian purposes as well.
Okay, because I don't believe there's parking on Darwin, which means that would put a lot of parking along those units that are on the southeast end of this property. If people are saying, hey, there's a great park there when we go, you know, boom, we go into this place and they're gonna have to park in front of all of those homes. That's what it looks like here.
Way, is there going to be any restrictions on Darwin for parking?
Yes, there are a small section, about 100 feet. Because of the site distance, we are going to restrict the parking.
But there will still be parking available along some portions of it.
Most of it.
Most of it. Okay.
Yeah, only about 100 feet.
Okay. So then there will be, you know, Darwin will ultimately, as part of this project, be widened to a city standard street. It's only Darwin today is likely half width of the street plus 10 feet or some metric along those lines. Darwin will be widened further than it exists today as part of this project proposal.
Okay, I'm just looking at a complication there with the public coming in, parking along those southeast homes in order to access the park. That was just my comment. Any other questions for staff? Sims, it looks like you have your hand up again.
Yeah, yes, I do. I'm sorry, I got you, I got all wrapped around the axle about the PUD stuff, so I forgot my other questions. There's a lot E that goes from Bay Street into one of the interior streets.
That's an existing Eastern Municipal Water District pipeline. The applicant will be required to landscape that. And likely there will be, and what we'll be looking at working with the applicant as well as with Eastern is to look at an opportunity to potentially enclose that with tubular steel, wrought iron on either side with a pedestrian access point on at least one side for the purpose, or a pedestrian gate or man gate for the purpose of going in between those two lots to do regular maintenance as part of the HOA.
Yeah, so it was a sewer easement or a water easement? But it doesn't matter. I would just be concerned to allow any kind of access.
It'll be the intent will be to gate it on either side and not for it to be a pedestrian through point.
And I mean, this could be a question to the applicant, but why couldn't that easement, if it's an easement, just been added to one of the lots, so that it could be fenced off with, and then have some kind of, instead of having like a dedicated little pathway between the two lots, it could attract nuisance in between those two lots, which we hope there wouldn't be in this, because it would seems to be fairly well contained.
We can once we get to that point in the conversation, we could definitely bring the applicant in for that. But again, you know, from staff standpoint, we're going to be gating it at both ends.
Okay.
And the final design, the final design of that will ultimately be landscape, and that maintenance will be a responsibility of the homeowners association.
Okay.
So that it stays, you know, green and tidy, just like the landscape maintenance districts along the perimeter of the site.
Okay, that's great. And then and on the park, I do understand that it's just conceptual to what we see on the exhibit on there. I would just, yeah, I'm not a park guy, but I would be concerned if I was a homeowner on those new lots, where the little parking lot is for as shown on your exhibit for the PUD. I don't know if it makes sense, but it always seems tough to have a parking lot right next to the houses if they're, you know, that may be just taken into consideration. We have a little neighborhood park by our neighborhood, and anyhow, I walk there often, and you find things laying around in the park that you probably wish weren't doing things in the park. So anyhow,
Dean, if you wouldn't mind, I'm assuming that this is still under consideration. Would you be able to shed some light on that?
Yeah, usually if there is a parking lot and stuff, it's, depending on how the design of the park is, if that's within the park boundaries, it could be fenced off with the rest of the park. If not, then we could, put up signage that there's no parking, only certain hours, like 6 to 9 o'clock, 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock. We could post those so there's no overnight parking or anything like that. But we really have to look at the developer and see, based on the design, what is best for the community there.
Yeah, I don't design these things, so I just say that just the adjacency of the parking lot to the backyards of those new homes on that one street. Seems like that could be, if you could have the parking lot was moved away from that onto the other side or something like that. Anyhow, that's the only other question I have of staff is with this PUD, is the developer being given any kind of benefit in terms of reduced development impact fees or anything that would otherwise be expected?
No, there is no request for concessions, density bonus, or anything else associated with this development. It is all market rate housing. There's no low income provisions or anything along those nature in this project. If there was, similar to the Courtyards of Cottonwood project, we would ultimately have identified in the staff report any such concessions that they would have requested. But that is not the type of development that is before you this evening.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay, the area that is just west of the area designated as not a park, is that also park area?
Just to the
Just to the east, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, just to the east.
That is a water quality management facility that will be required as part of this. Ultimately, we'll be looking for the landscaping of that area to at least visually be integrated with the overall park. We will ultimately work with Parks and Recreation as well as land development to see if there is an opportunity for that to be an extension of the park facility in some manner, or if we will have to, given its design depth and any required materials in the bottom of the basin, will ultimately dictate the final outcome of how that facility is used and if it needs to be fully enclosed with fencing or how that may end up being.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioner questions of staff? No. Okay, would the applicant like to speak at this time?
Hi, good evening. This is Megan Weldon over at DR Horton. I just wanted to take this time to extend our appreciation to you commissioners and also to city staff for all of their hard work and support of this project. DR Horton is excited to be back in the city of Moreno Valley and are looking forward to developing more beautiful communities for your future residences. And I am available for any questions you or the public may have.
Well, thank you. Are there any commissioner questions of the applicant? I think we went through a few gamut of questions there. Okay, at this time, if there are no commissioner questions of the applicant, are there any, I guess we'll open it up for public testimony. The clerk will call upon each person who has a request to speak. Each member of the public wishing to speak will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item. Do we have any public comments?
Not at this time, Vice Chair DeJeanette.
Wow, okay. Let's see, no, looks like we're moving right along. I asked if the applicant would like to, there's no speakers, so I guess there's no questions that are being brought to us at this time. Looks like we can move right on into deliberations. We're so chatty tonight.
Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind at this time closing the public hearing. Portion.
Oh yeah, okay. So at this time, we'll close the public comments at this time, and now we'll move into commissioner deliberations. No one? Oh, I'll start. I like the project. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I have a little concerns about the park being on the corner of Alessandro with the speeds that can be reached on Alessandro. You know, that'd be my only real concern, you know. I can't think of, I'm trying to think of there any other parks that abut up against a boulevard in Moreno Valley. I know most of them are within neighborhoods, and the ones that do, I know Iris has one right around Iris and Kitchen, but it's set back so far. It's set back really far for Iris, and I can't think of any other parks in Moreno Valley that are set right against a main boulevard with speeds as much as 45 miles an hour. So that's one of my concerns about it. And then, of course, the parking. If it's public access, you know, I get it. I mean, you know, people are going to come in and park, and I guess, yeah. I mean, you know, if we're going to maintain it, and we're going to shut it down, and you know, our code enforcement is going to go through, and that'd be all right. That's the only thing I think about there is that being up on a boulevard. I think this is one of the first of its types being right up on a boulevard like that. Anyone else?
I go.
Okay.
I want to thank the developer and the staff for considering the park on Alexandro and La Salle where it's needed for the neighborhood. And I was listening to Vice Chair. I think we could put up some signs, maybe warning the public there's a park in the area. Maybe we can reduce the speed within a half a mile of the park, go down from 45 to 40, things like that, and you speed back up once it passes the park. Like a school, when we pass a school or an area of school goes down to 25 miles, then it goes back up to 35. So, I mean, there's possibilities like that, you know, to inform the people that don't know there's a park there with kids and guests. So once people know there's a park there, hopefully they'll reduce their own speed. That's only hoping that they'll do that. But I do welcome the park because we do need something in that area for the city and the residents and our guests. They'll probably have festival parties, birthday, you know, all those kind of little things that go with a park. And once again, I want to thank the developer for financing the park, really, and dedicating it to the city for us to maintain. I think we can do that since we already have about 30 plus parks already that we do well. We maintain them. Parks and Rec does a great job. Patting them do a great job, taking care of the parks. And we got the park police kind of, they go out, patrol at night, make sure that everything is closed after 10 o'clock or 9, and make sure that people are not sleeping in private parks, things like that. So we do a great job with our parks. And I also want to thank the developer for bringing another 177 houses to Moreno Valley. Really, truly, you picked a good area. It's a good area. It would improve that side of the city also. Once again, it would help with the new planning that we have for downtown Moreno Valley. So thank you so much. And I want to thank the family of the DR Horn for considering Moreno Valley for the project. Thank you so much.
I too, you know, I've been living in the city for a long time, and that lot, you know, I am glad to see that the one thing that the developer did decide to bring, to not just do it in an open area like a lot of new homes are being brought out to Myrtle Beach. by redlands and open areas, but to fill in an open lot, an empty lot that's kind of needed. That spot is needed. It'll be a nice addition to the newer homes to the east of that. So I think it looks good. As far as the park, there is another park across the street on Iris as well that is fenced across from that other park that's set back as well. It's a basketball court, but it is fenced. I think it'll look good. I think it'll add some greenery to there instead of just a dirt lot with rocks on it. So I think it'll look good. So I'm okay with it.
Okay, I go now?
Yes.
I think this is going to be a really nice project. The thing that I really like about it is this is the kind of what you're seeing here in that whole area along LaSalle. We have the apartments that was approved over on Cactus and LaSalle. Those are going up right now. You're going to see this. This is a higher density, a single family, and I like the PUD with the higher level of planning criteria for the look and feel of the development. I think it's very compatible with the existing neighborhood on lot size. It's maybe a slightly less, but with the reverse frontage along Bay on those houses, and then I think the upscale look of the aesthetics that you're going to get on, I believe it was Darwin, which was the north-south. I think that's a really nice fit. I think this will increase the value of the homes to the north and to the east, which I think is part of the as a development happens, there should be care and concern by the Planning Commission and the staff and our electeds that projects that go in raise the entire area. And so I think this is a project that will be uplifting to the existing neighborhood due to compatibility. The only as far as the park goes, Commissioner Cobian is exactly right. Iris is a high-speed super autobahn at times, and there's two basketball factors. There's the one that's closer to the what is that street?
It's a little bit down between Stater Brothers Park and before you get to the hospital.
Closer to down in the older part of Moreno Valley Ranch, and then there's the one that's anyhow. But there's two of them along there. There's two parks on there, and those seem to coexist well. I think with some proper, fencing, the non-climb metal fencing along Alessandro, I don't think there'd be any problem at all. And then the only other thing is as far as I don't want to harp, but this is more directed to ourselves and to staff. Here we're going to have a little two acre cutout, which, if it was going to go kind of a residential, we would have seen it planned by Horton, DR Horton as a residential all the way up to the corner right there. So there's probably a move afoot at some point for that to be a commercial or some kind of, community support, type of, commercial Starbucks, cigarette shop, smoke shop, or whatever, commercial support facility, which I don't have any issue with, but it's kind of a zero-sum game when you look at it. And if you just go right up the street, half a mile up to the corner, or a mile, go up to Paris and Alessandro, there's two huge commercial centers up there, fairly large commercial centers, of which one is doing fairly well, the other is not doing well. If you continue going up Alessandro to Indian, it gets worse and worse and worse. And so at some point, it's nice to have new, and I get that, we're going to have a nice new downtown center, but when you have little pieces of commercial, the new perhaps detracts from the old, and the old becomes worse and blighted. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying I always have a little concern about breakout pieces like this. To me, it should all just been commercial or all just residential, but I get it. People can do what they do with their property. It's their right, I suppose. But it's a zero-sum game of how much we could support in the city, and you know, business here probably will erode business elsewhere. So, but anyhow, hopefully the new 177 new citizens or residents and their family will do it up. So I'm very supportive of the project.
Thank you. Any other comments possibly? Well, I guess that's the end of our deliberations. We can move right into having a motion. Does anybody have a motion?
I'll do it.
Okay, a second.
I'll make a recommendation that the Planning Commission approve resolution number 2022-06.
Oops.
And that we adopt resolution number 2022-07. And that we adopt resolution number 2022-08.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Sims and a second by Commissioner Cobian. Can we have a vote, please?
Yes, we are going to take a vote by roll call. So Commissioner Cobian,
Approved.
Commissioner Begares,
Yes.
Commissioner Sims,
Yes.
and Vice Chairperson DeJeanette.
Yes. So the motion does carry and 4-0. Do we have a staff wrap up?
Thank you, Vice Chair. The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any interested party that would like to file an appeal may do so within 10 days of this action. If an appeal is filed, it must be in writing and directed to the Community Development Director, stating the specific reasons for the appeal, along with the appeal filing fee. If an appeal is received, it will be agendized for a public hearing before the City Council. Thank you.
Well, thank you. The next item on the agenda is other commission business. At this time, we don't have any other commissioner business. The next item on the agenda is staff comments. Do we have any staff comments at this time?
I do not. Steve?
I do not.
Okay. How about the next item on the agenda, which is planning commissioner comments? Do we have any commissioner comments at this time? Wow. Okay. Well, then at this time, the planning commission meeting is adjourned at 7:53 p.m. to our next regular meeting of February 10th. 2022. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone out there that is watching us and playing with us. Just stay with us, stay safe, keep those hands washed. Don't touch your face and stay out of the place. Have a good night.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Night.